This video is to reassemble a Ford F250, Ford F350 Super Duty seat. We're going to start off with the driver. This seat is heated. Heat switch, side panel. And we'll start reassembly. What to look for first is make sure you match your back and your bottom. The bottom will have a pin on one side, which will match the hole on the back side. And we'll start reassembly shortly. Okay, first thing we got to look for is you have your lumbar and your heat wire, and you're going to put the back of the seat into the bottom of the seat using the pin and this hole. All right. First you got to shove your lumbar rod in, and then you have the heat rod. Just shove it in, it will go right out through the bottom of the pan. Making sure you don't hit the leather with any metal. And there we go. You still have room, you'll still have room to put the wires in. Just want to start them in. Alright, you still have the wires sticking out, the lumbar is also in there, so you have to pull this through. So just go from the bottom. You can pull the wire right through. There's the wire for the heat, and there's the lumbar right behind it, right there. So you're all set. After the pin's in, it's very simple. Next, 2 bolts. Line them up. Could be 2 holes. Line it up with the bolts. Remove all your bolts from the bag or however they're packaged. Lay out all your parts. You're going to first need the 2 biggest bolts. There's 4 total. Take your 2 bolts, line them up, start them by hand. One in the front. One in the rear. And then simply torque them down. Okay, then torque them down. Impact's fine. You can use a hand. And now you have a complete seat. Also, next is to hook up the wires, the lumbar, and the side trim piece. Real easy. And we'll start off with the wires. Your lumbar mechanism is right here. It has to hook up to the metal tube that we sent through in the beginning. Okay, now we have our lumbar tube with the metal rod going through, and you hook up your lumbar adjustment for the knob. Snaps right in, and you're going to put it up underneath, and there'll be a couple screws holding that in. There it is. That's what the knob goes on to. These are the 2 screws that hold the lumbar in. Those are the shiny ones. Remember, the lumbar control is behind the metal of the seat pan, and the screws will hold it right in. Phillips head screwdriver. There's 2 that hold it in. There's number 1, and here's number 2. Now that your lumbar knobs and controls in, the next is to hook up the heat wire. That's the wire we pulled through from the back. That's for the seat heat and for your back. And you just hook it up. So there should only be one leftover female end to put it in. That's it. Very simple. Next we'll be placing the side trim piece back on and hooking up the motor switches, hooking up the heat switch, and placing the side trim panel on. Here's the bolts and what you need for that. And here's the side trim piece. Hook up the heat switch, real easy. And then you need 2 screws to hold on the switch for the motor controls. And screw number 2 at the bottom. And now your trim piece is ready to be mounted on. And your switch looks like that. All done. Next hard part, you have to get the tilt lever through the big hole. The easiest way of doing that is to get it out of the lumbar. Put that in first. The plastic bends easily. Don't worry about cracking it. It's pretty flexible. Next is a tricky one. You have to lift the recline lever up and then start to screw. And that finishes that. Next we're going to go to the back. There's a little cap thing that you have to just punch in. It's no big deal. Find the hole and pop it right. But we got two more things to do. First, we have the recline lever plastic. One screw, only fits in one way. That's the baby screw, by the way. Start your screw, and you screw that in, and your lever will be done. Okay, and last, you snap on the lumbar knob. It only fits on one way. There's 3 little ridges that you have to do. And you just snap it on with your hand. And this is a complete Super Duty seat, lariat, cloth, everything's all the same. If you have manual, you don't have to worry about all these switches, wires, and so forth. Lumbar is all the same on all Super Duties. And just repeat the process for the passenger side.